A few moments with you on the pew, pew, pew.
What's the word? My name is Ver,
And I'm Matthew.
and today we're here with Chloe.
Hi guys, happy to be here.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Chloe Parrish. I'm a freshman music education major. I'm from Milford, Ohio, the 513, if you will. I also live in Marycrest, so yeah.
Sweet. And how did we meet Chloe through Rise, or was there anything before that?
I met you at church before Rise, and then I met Ver at Rise, and we were in the
she's
same
my
group
riser.
together.
Yeah,
Boom.
Best group.
it
Okay.
was.
Okay.
And then the Wilderness Retreat also, more recently, but
Yeah.
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 Sweet.
All right, well, I have some hot seat questions.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
Gummy bears or fruit snacks?
Oh, gummy bears. I don't like fruit snacks.
Sunrises or sunsets?
Sunsets, I think.
Easy bake oven or Barbie camper van?
Oh, that's a hard one, but I'm gonna have to go with the Easy Bake Oven.
If you had to get rid of one sacrament, which one would it be?
What the
That feels like heresy almost, just a little bit. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think I can pick personally.
Probably for me, anointing of the sick, like they're about to die. Just like let them.
That's like a comfort thing, though.
I
Like,
know.
what you're just gonna have the priest like look at a person that's dying and be like, "Well,
Sorry.
it's like a no."
What are
there's
the
supposed to be-
alternatives? I guess like
It's supposed to be like a last like rite of like comfort and knowing that you're about to meet Jesus. I feel like, you can't get rid of that. Like, that's cruel, right?
it's valid. So I guess none of them.
Just
Yeah.
like matrimony or something.
Yeah, get rid of marriage. I hate married people. No, I don't hate married people, I promise.
Crayons or colored pencils?
Oh, okay, hot take, colored pencils. But I use both. I use crayons for, like, the outline and then colored pencils to color it in.
That's even a hotter take, I would say. but-
No, because crayons have, like, the thicker edge to them, so colored pencils are, like, smoother on the inside, I feel like.
Flowers or potted plants?
Oh, I'm a flowers girl, personally. Trader Joe's has probably the best flowers.
That's facts.
Yeah.
Brass or woodwind instruments?
Woodwind. I'm a clarinet primary, so woodwind. That was really easy.
Favorite apostle?
Simon Peter.
And favorite book of the Bible?
The Song of Solomon. It's in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
I have a verse from that. It's Song of Solomon 4:7, and it is, you are altogether perfect. There's no flaw in you.
Oh,
It's on my Instagram bio. So.
yeah. Well, you're off the hot seat.
Yeah.
I
So
survived.
we're back on the normal pew.
Okay.
And I would say you're probably our first guest who's answered hot seat questions as they're like with
Yes.
speed. So good
Yeah,
job
with,
there.
as they're intended, yeah.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
But today, Chloe is here to talk a little bit about like her experience in faith, and kind of how her faith perspective or journey might differ a little bit from other people's, but her perspective on that. So, like to start us off, before we even get into the questions, do you want to share a little bit about like your faith journey briefly?
Sure. So, where I grew up, there was a church on like every block, but it was a lot of like really extremely religious people of like God hates this, God hates that. So like my parents didn't want me growing up in that, which is probably for the better. Like it was not a very safe community to be in. So I didn't have like a lot of religion growing up. I knew my grandmother was Catholic, but I didn't have a lot of that. And then I came here and I met my sponsor, and he was like, I had so many questions about God and Catholicism. And he was really kind when I asked questions. Like no question was a dumb question. And that kind of like drew me in. And then I met a lot more cool people, and I was like, oh, this is actually something I want to get involved with.
And what has happened since then, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I went on my first retreat, which was the Rise retreat, which was a really good experience. I thought they were going to have us sleeping outside. I can't lie to you. I was prepared for a lot of things. It was a great retreat. I had a good time. I really got way more connected with my faith. And then I got confirmed almost 2 weeks ago.
Look at that. That's awesome.
Very exciting. I'm really happy to be a part of the church.
Awesome. So, hopefully that gives you all a little bit more background on kind of the questions that we'll be asking. So to open us up, and you might have explained some of this already, so it might not be too much, but like how do you feel your perspective on faith and spirituality have like shifted since you have recently become a member of the Catholic Church?
So, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, growing up, I was like, oh, like I didn't believe in God growing up. I was like, oh, like I thought all religious people were like extremists and they were all like insane, cuckoo bananas. And I was like, I don't know, like I didn't have enough, I guess, exposure to the right kind of faith or like the right way of worship, and like I didn't fully like understand and grasp like the love of God. I was just like, and then I feel like everyone has like I had an edgy like teenager phase of like God isn't real, and then like I came here and I was like, oh, that's not like I was way off the mark. But I found now that God like is so forgiving and so loving, and I do wish I knew that earlier. But also, it's definitely been a journey here. I think coming into it later and like being here now, like I feel more like prepared, I guess, to like be able to grapple with my faith and like ask questions than I was back then.
Absolutely. Yeah. And were there any like specific like practices or like any teachings of the church that like you did grapple with or like that like helped you work to grow in your faith journey?
Honestly, a lot like the sacrament of like the Eucharist really motivated me to want to be a part of like the church. Just hearing people talk about it and like be like this idea, right, that you have like the physical like body and blood of Christ and he's giving it up and you are consuming it. And now that's in you was so beautiful to me. Like I like the idea of someone loving you so much that they would be willing to like go and be on a cross for you and die for you over and over again, right? Like that was just so beautiful to me. I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to experience the love of like Christ, and like before I was even confirmed, I really wanted that. Like I knew I couldn't take the Eucharist because I wasn't confirmed, and that's kind of also what motivated me. It's like I wanted to fully feel connected to God and like the love of God and Christ in the moment.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I guess like looking back and like what you've learned, some of your experiences, or stories or anything like that, like what advice would you give someone who is considering joining the Catholic Church, but maybe like later in their life?
That's okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, pray so much. Give it to God. Don't be afraid to ask questions. No question is a bad question. Like there could be so you could probably ask like so many worse things. Like please, like I talked to so many people. That's partially what drew me in is I was allowed to ask questions. Like no question was taboo. Like I wasn't not allowed to ask anything. Like ask questions, get involved with your faith. Even before I was a confirmed member of the church, I was still going to mass Sundays, Wednesdays, going on retreats, like meeting people through Catholic life, doing like the flyer fire, like getting more involved with the faith. I feel like can help you really understand it a lot better rather than just sitting and watching from the outside.
Awesome. And I guess this is kind of separate too, but I think like I don't know that many people even within the church fully like understand or have a perspective on like what does the process even look like from your perspective of entering the church. So do you want to share maybe a little bit about what that process like of RCIA kind of looked like for you?
Yeah, so I moved in August and I met my sponsor a week after move in. And I wasn't fully like into the idea of wanting to come to church until like the first Merry Christmas. And then I met so many other people. But it can be a really difficult process. For me, like I had a lot of things happen like before my confirmation that like led me like to ask questions and like wonder if I was doing the right thing. But I had so many like amazing people in my life that helped like lead me on the right path and the path to confirmation. It can be a really difficult choice. Like half my family is Jewish, so
Yeah.
it was kind of interesting to explain to them of okay, I went to college and now I believe in Jesus Christ, who is someone famously not who the Catholics say he is, and it was crazy. But honestly, like I wouldn't. There's nowhere else I would rather be. I'm really happy. It can be a process. It can be tough, but you just have to keep going, keep praying, give it all to God, and once you get there and you stand up on the altar with your like sponsor's hand on your shoulder, and you get the oil on your forehead and you're sealed in the church, like that like moment I think after was kind of what also pulled me in. It's like feeling like God's arms like wrapped around you and saying like welcome home, you know.
Awesome.
I love hearing your story. I didn't know all of the different like parts of it and the ins and outs, and just like the point that you made about asking questions and like really like kind of like how no questions like taboo. I feel like is like such an important thing to like remember and like think about. And I was like,
Especially in like early 2000s and like the 90s, like religion was a hot topic because it's like you weren't there were certain like church leaders that only had their best interest in mind. You couldn't ask questions about practices, like, and that's kind of what my parents like sold me on. I think they talked about that a lot, and I was like, okay, I don't want to get involved with that.
yeah,
But I met so many open people here. Like even like Father Bob, I could ask him like every question in the world. Like, do you think Jesus would wear chacos? And he would answer honestly. By the way, he did say Jesus would be a chacos guy, so
whoa,
I know. Hot take coming
Jesus is
from
definitely a
the Birkenstock
Birkenstocks
enjoyer
guy.
over
I
here.
know. Shoot. Well, I think one thing or I guess a connection that I made from your story was just the idea that we are like such ambassadors of the faith. I mean, like when you think about your some of your first interactions with your now the sponsor that you had, like imagine if maybe they weren't like what if they weren't welcoming and accepting and like turned you away or like from the faith because you weren't where they were at, and like imagine like what that would have resulted in your faith story too.
Yeah, the first time I met my sponsor, we watched a horror movie together. So, I made him watch a scary movie with me, and now we're best friends. So I don't think I regret any of it, really. I'm happy to be here. Another seat at the table, and who knows, next year might be even crazier. I might be someone's sponsor.
True.
Well,
You can always give back, and that's awesome.
I can. I'm really excited for it. So,
Perfect. Would you have any final remarks, closing wisdom, anything?
honestly, just keep praying. Do your rosary. It's probably been so long since you've prayed the rosary. Pray the rosary. Love praying the rosary. It's my favorite. And yeah, just keep praying. Give it to God. Talk to your friends. Go get coffee. It's like the end of the year. Have fun. So yeah,
Boom.
that's it.
Sweet.
thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Pew 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 pew.